Board Podcast. I'm your co-host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again is my co-host, Richie Schneiderite. A lot of news to talk about today. The big news is obviously we've been alluding to this for a while. Bryce Dortch, the 4-star wing out of the class of 2024. He's from Massachusetts. He committed to Rutgers. He's ranked 125th on the Rivals 150. Yesterday, we also got a commitment from Benjamin Black, the receiver. Actually, that was Sunday. Sunday, we got a commitment from Benjamin Black. The infamous phone call Richie got at the end of the last episode was getting the news that Benjamin Black committed. And at that point, we're not recording anymore.
We already got like 3 out. Like, it's done.
Yeah. And there's a few other news items we want to hit on too. Richie and his foursome finished second at the Schiano charity golf outing. We'll kind of commiserate for him there. We got a bit of an update on the apparel deal and some surprising, but shouldn't be super surprising news about possibly Rutgers being in the thick of it for Naas Cunningham, the 5-star wing who used to play for
Gil St.
Bernard's until he went to Overtime Elite the last year. But anyway, let's just start at the top. Benjamin Black, the receiver out of North Carolina, committed to Rutgers. Richie, tell us a little bit about him. I know this is a guy that you felt really good about in terms of Rutgers landing. I think you even had a crystal ball or future cast in for him. So tell us a little bit about Benjamin Black.
I think I put it in, I'm looking now, May 12th I put it in for him. So he actually wasn't on campus this past weekend. He was on campus the weekend before. And I kind of heard you hear some rumors, and it was like, oh, it sounds like he committed. And I was like, all right, perfect, cool. When's he going public? I don't know. I was like, all right, cool, great. I'm just gonna have it ready at that point. It ended up being a week later. He didn't take any other visit this past weekend. He went to, I believe it was his sister's graduation this past weekend, so that's why he didn't take camp visits anywhere. He was kind of just waiting for all that stuff to happen. And from what I was told, he kind of didn't want to take the spotlight away from his sister, which I kind of respect a little bit.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Let her get her graduation in, let her do all that stuff. I almost said nonsense. That's not what I meant. And then a couple days later, he announced his commitment via social media. Now, how is he as a player? This past season was his junior year. Yeah, 25 receptions for 400 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nothing too crazy, but now all of a sudden you look at his track times and you're like, okay, now I kind of see where we're going with this one. 10.76 100-meter dash, which translates to like a 4.5 40. Now he's also been clocked at a 4.4 40 at multiple camps. I'm assuming that's probably hand timed. So based on logic, it's probably more near that 5 or 4.5 40 that I was alluding to before. Also ran a 21.79 and 200-meter dash, which is like both times are really fast. They're considered to be extremely fast. Like we're talking almost Josiah Brown-like numbers in terms of speed. So he's a super speedy kid. North Carolina, he's a little on the shorter side. He's 5'11", 165. That's an official weight and height from our rivals camp down in the Carolinas. So that's all confirmed and all that via our camp system. And you get back down in North Carolina again for a second receiver. So shout out kind of to Dave Brock there for pulling that one in, because he has a ton of connections down there in the North Carolina area from when his time with the Tar Heels. He was also director of recruiting for the program as well. This is just more expanding the state of Rutgers, kind of more of what I said last class too, or last podcast, where if Jersey kids don't want to stay home, just go somewhere else. And that's kind of what they're doing. And getting back into Carolinas is always good. Carolina produces at a high rate. And while he's not ranked within the state currently, the new state rankings come out, I want to say it's Thursday or Friday, one of those days. So I expect him to be among those. 5.53 star, and everyone's like, whoa, his tape shows better. And I was like, yes, I get it. Like, he's fast. He's a great track person. He's super fast, actually. But at the end of the day, we're not ranking track athletes. We're ranking football athletes. So kind of have to understand there. He didn't do a whole lot his junior year. He looked solid in camp. He didn't look great in camp. So I think this is just a kid that could develop down the line as a slot receiver, or maybe he grows a little more and plays the outside too. So we'll wait and see what happens there. But I think he's a pretty solid commit. A lot of teams actually wanted him as a cornerback because of his speed. So I'm intrigued to see if this could be one of those situations, which we know Schiano and crew love to do. You just mix and match and say, hey, let's try you out corner first semester. Let's try you out at wide receiver second semester. I don't expect him to play early, so I think he could flip-flop on either side of the ball. I think he's just a pretty good, pretty solid addition regardless. So we'll wait and see what he does his senior year.
Yeah, and that's why another reason why it's so huge that these guys can come in as a high schooler for the spring semester, because that first spring practice, they could just kind of like try you out at a position that they,
Mhm.
from the hip, like your 1A position. So whether it be corner, receiver, safety. Then if it doesn't work out, they move you back for training camp and you spend a full year. Most of these guys redshirt anyway, so you get a full year under your belt playing that second position, getting acclimated. But that first like little like preview period in that first spring practice is huge
Mhm.
for a lot of these, because a lot of these guys don't have a set position. Like a lot of guys have brought in as defensive ends and they get transitioned to tackles or linebackers. It's the Schiano shuffle where you start off at corner, you go to safety, you start off at linebacker, you go to end. Like it's happened for a while. It's harder to do in the Big Ten because if you're a linebacker, you're probably around 6'2", and you can't really play defensive end at 6'2" in the Big Ten. But anyway,
The Schiano shuffle. I like that.
the Schiano shuffle. Yep.
We're gonna trademark that one.
It's all yours. So, like you said, that this is the 15th commitment of the class. 7 different states represented on the commitment list.
It's always cool to see.
Mm-hmm. So we have 3 kids from Michigan now, which is a little bit surprising. But
Yeah.
So this is the second receiver commit. How many more receivers do you expect them to go for in this class?
1 to 2. So now you can kind of be a little bit more selective now, and not just wide receiver. You can be selective at defensive end or defensive line in general. I think they're done with linebacker because you got those 2. You got a quarterback, you're done there. Running back, they want 1 more. But in terms of wide receivers, there's 2 I'm keeping a close eye on, and they're kind of going to wait these guys out to see what they do. It's going to be Josiah Brown, who is probably down to Rutgers or Penn State. Rutgers visit went really, really well, as most of you probably read via Uncle Lenny on the boards. Yeah, he loved it from what I was told. I talked to him a little bit the other day, just BSing back and forth, just to see where his head's at. The Rutgers visit kind of blew him away a little bit, and when you have his best friend in Dylan Braithwaite as his host, it's always going to help there. But Penn State's making a serious push for him. They want him as well. Now he has a Georgia visit on the 23rd. I don't anticipate him being a take, but if Georgia strikes out elsewhere, I could see them just being like, all right, screw it, we're taking him. And like Georgia's recruiting's not, it's obviously great because it's Georgia. They're the 2-time national champs, but they also just lost a kid to Alabama who flipped from them. They're also trying to get back in the Northeast a little bit, and it's kind of Fran Brown just, for the most part, just throwing offers out. But they are going to land Jordan Thomas, it sounds like, out of Jersey. They're probably gonna make a slight push for Josiah, but I don't think they're gonna push him too hard. So we'll see. We'll wait and see what happens there. But he's number 1 I'm looking at. He could obviously play either side of the ball too. And then number 2 is Corey Duff. They're waiting out Corey Duff, who just took a visit to North Carolina. Sounds like he's trying to get one scheduled to Miami for this weekend. I don't know if that's official yet or not. I haven't gotten a confirmation from my sources there, but it does sound like it's a battle between Rutgers and North Carolina. His family wants him at Rutgers because it's close to home. There was a little bit of concern in North Carolina for the fact that Mac Brown is relatively old. Let's be honest. We don't know how much longer he's going to coach.
Yeah.
Will he be there all 4 years or 5 years for Corey Duff? I don't know personally, but I know North Carolina does a great job of selling their program. Obviously, they're on the up and up for football-wise, considering they were never really good at football. So, yeah, that's something to keep an eye on. I know he loved it the first visit. Now, an official visit is probably going to give him a little bit more of an edge. I think it comes down to those 2, and he'll probably decide over the next week or so, or I wouldn't say a week or so, before July, I would say. Other than those 2, I'm probably that's pretty much it. I think they're just going to be selective now because now you have, what would you say before, 15 commitments? Now you can kind of pick and choose where you want to go with certain guys, and then you probably want 1 more O-line commit, 1 to 2 more defensive lineman commits. Yeah, that's maybe a DB commit because you don't really need another corner because you're losing Melton, but everyone else kind of returns again in 2024. So we'll wait and see what happens there. But pretty good recruiting class so far.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty stacked class. Better than I thought they'd have so far. And
Yeah.
like you said, we've got some other high-level guys we're deciding this week. A little preview. I know that Willie Love announced that he is announcing his next school on Wednesday.
He has changed that completely. He will
has,
now,
okay.
yeah, he'll now be announcing a top 5. He has since deleted said tweet.
All right.
So,
Well, let's reverse the tape about 15 seconds. That is not happening anymore.
yeah.
But we are involved with some higher level guys. Not sure how many of them will land. It sounds like some of them are leaning elsewhere, but if you overachieve a bit, there's always that that chance that guys will reconsider. We see it all the time when teams overperform in a given season. The local guys who weren't going to really come in the first place might reconsider. So you got to overperform to get there, but whatever. Anything else about Benjamin Black before we talk about some basketball commitments?
No, I'm kind of looking
singular?
right. Let me look right now just to see who else. Jack Hines ended up committing to Wake Forest, so that was a little kind of
that was
kicking the balls a little bit.
That was strange because that was right after the Rutgers visit.
Yeah, so I didn't understand that. He did visit Wake Forest on the 2nd. Boston College was supposed to be this weekend, with Kentucky the midweek visit. So he had a couple more visits scheduled, so I was a little shocked by that. But, I mean, nonetheless, you still have 2 pretty good offensive line commits in Raynor Andrews and I can't think of who the other one is. And they're doing pretty well with Colin Cupperly, too, who didn't commit to – oh, no, he did commit. Okay, never mind. I missed that yesterday. He did commit to Wisconsin, so he's out. But ignore that one too. Judah Pruitt could go either side of the ball. I think at this point, I think he's a better offensive lineman, so put him on that side. And then in terms of other kids I'm keeping a close eye on, Jamari Howard and Antonio White and Trayvon Maddox out of Parkview High School down in Georgia. Antonio White has 2 more visits, but it sounds like Rutgers is near the top of his list right now. Trayvon Maddox, I think, was his only visit right now, and I think Rutgers is in a very good spot there. He's an athlete, but from what I was told, it's Georgia Tech or Rutgers right now. Kentucky is pushing as well. I know he definitely sounds like he might have silently committed to Georgia Tech, but then he started taking more visits, so it's kind of like, let's see what happens there. But something to keep an eye on over the next couple weeks, and then that's pretty much all I got for football right now.
All right, let's pivot to the basketball side of things. Rutgers has I guess it's been a pretty recent development that Rutgers was heavily involved again, but Rutgers was the favorite for a couple weeks now with 4-star wing Bryce Dortch. He pulled the trigger today, I think 4:30, and he is now the newest member of the class of 2024. So he's the 3rd current commitment. Tell us a little bit about this kid, how the commitment came together, and just where he kind of fits into this roster.
So Bryce Dortch came to campus back in, I want to say it was not a year ago. Maybe it was a year ago. I was back in fall. I don't know the exact date on it, but he went for a visit to campus, checked it out, and then it's similar to Lathan Somerville almost, where he took a visit to campus. Everyone's like, oh, well, maybe Rutgers can land this kid, high 4-star kid, and like blah, blah, blah. A couple months go by, and it's like, all right, we haven't heard a word about him. And then like another couple months go by, and it's like, oh, he's on campus for an official visit. And it's like, all right, well, I guess they just pushed him a little bit more. But yeah, Bryce Dortch came to campus on June 2nd for an official visit, and they pretty much locked him up after that. He was considered a Marquette lean back in the fall. I don't know exactly what happened there, but then all of a sudden came to Rutgers campus. Rutgers locked him up pretty quickly. And this is a really good get. And this is he's a forward. He's 6'8", 190. He's skinny. He's going to have to put on some pounds, which is fine. Probably play the 4 at the next level. Could also play the 3 at times. Like I said in our last podcast, 2 podcasts ago, whenever we talked about him, I think he's more of a Mawat Mag type of player. Really good defender, lengthy kid, pretty fast for his size, good footwork, a little bit more polished on offense, which is kind of what you would love for Mawat Mag to do. And he kind of showed glimpses of it last year in year 3, but this kid's going to show glimpses of that in year 1, in my opinion. I think he'll be a key contributor year 1. And then I think year 2, depending on, I can't even predict what that roster is going to look like at this point, but I think he'll be a good player down the line for Rutgers. I think a multi-year kid. He's not a one and done, but he's 125 right now ranked in our rankings, and that's only going to go up. And it's another Adidas kid, so that kind of leans towards what's going on there.
Yeah, we'll definitely speak more to that in a moment, but is there anything else about him that we wanted to touch on before we kind of talk about the possible apparel contract?
Not that I could think of. He was down to Virginia Tech, Rutgers, or Penn State, Temple. I know Penn State was one of his first offers, technically, and that's kind of where the Virginia Tech thing comes because Penn State was one of his finalists because J.D. Byers, who was an assistant coach technically at Penn State for like I don't even know a couple months, and then all of a sudden went to Virginia Tech, and that's kind of where Virginia Tech's got involved with him, but. Yeah, I mean this is pretty good job by Rutgers to land them, get them on campus, and just relatively close it pretty quickly, which is what you kind of want to do at this point, whether it be any type of recruitment. Once they're on an official visit, you want to lock it up almost immediately. You do not want them going anywhere else. And other than those, I'm looking now. He also beat out Providence, Seton Hall, Texas A&M, Virginia Commonwealth, and the other four I said before in Temple, Virginia Tech, Marquette, and the other three. Sorry.
Yes, so it's a really solid pickup. This is a kid who should be a contributor here. He's not the crown jewel of the class, but this is a kid who even a few years ago would have been the crown jewel of a Rutgers basketball class. So
Yeah.
I don't want to discredit his abilities at all. He's a very good player and definitely will be a player that hypothetically makes an impact. I mean, you don't want to put too much on a kid before he gets on campus. Injuries can happen, but I'm excited about his game. Like you said,
Yeah.
reminds me of a little more developed Moat Mag as a high school recruit. But you did allude to something. Talking Adidas, you alluded to an apparel deal. So what are you hearing in terms of the latest on the apparel deal?
So basically what I was told is 2-year re-up with Adidas is the main rumor, the hot, spicy, juicy rumor right now. There was some talk about it yesterday, actually, at the golf outing. But yeah, that's the rumor right now. It's going to be a 2-year re-up with Adidas. I don't know what tier it's going to be. So don't ask me if it's tier 1, tier 2. I'm assuming it's probably tier 1 because the whole selling point is basketball right now. They're going to do a 2-year re-up where you get this year for your contract, whatever. Then you get year 2, which is the Ace and Dylan year. And you hope something happens big with that year to the point where it's going to either be another re-up with Adidas after that, or Nike comes in and Nike's like, yo, you just made the Final Four. Like, oh my God, yo, we're picking you up again. Come on. Or Adidas is like, fuck that. You're staying with us. We just saw what you did. Stay with us and we'll make this work. And I know you can't really think too much about AAU and Adidas, but Ace's AAU team is now Adidas. The Bryce Dortch's AAU team is Mass Rivals, Adidas. The only one that doesn't play Adidas is Dylan, which I don't think it's playing a factor. But, I mean, I guess it could a little bit, but I don't think it's going to play that much of a factor regardless for his recruitment. But, I mean, everything's lining up for Adidas to get this 2-year deal, 2-year re-up, I should say. And the other main factor here, too, is like people might be saying Nike and like thinking Nike, but I was told for just hypothetically, for football season alone, you have to order these jerseys like insanely far in advance. So this would have had to been ordered back in January. So if they were going to Nike, that kind of had to be announced like January, February. The fact that it's not been announced tells me it's Adidas. So
yeah, no, that's a great point because I feel like in the past, these apparel deals it was way more alluded to if they were going to make a change in terms of like I feel like when we switched over to Adidas, we kind of knew like in like early spring, like I want to say like March or April, we kind of knew it was coming.
I'm going to try to see if I can find that. But yeah, actually February. We knew February 6th when the switch was happening. But the fact that I was told basically they didn't make any order from what I was told in terms of like jerseys and stuff like that. So it sounds like they're just going to stay Adidas again. Now, I think the last contract was only paying them 6-year deal and just north of $10 million. And so this one, I think it's going to be like a 2-year deal worth like, I'm spitballing here in terms of numbers. I didn't get a number yesterday. I didn't get a number from anyone recently, but it's going to be significantly bigger than that because they are selling this as the Ace Bailey era, the Dylan Harper era, and that's kind of what they're going to go with. Which I'm kind of cool with it. I know people complain about Adidas and how they don't really put much Rutgers shit on their website and stuff like that, which I do agree with. Now, if you win though, that's a totally different talking point. Like. Then there you go. Then maybe all of a sudden Rutgers and Adidas are like cohorts, and this is going to be their Northeast flagship school, which they don't have either. which most people don't recognize. It's Nike, Nike here, Nike there, Under Armour, because why not? And then Nike up top, or New Balance up top. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you kind of talked about that on an older pod. It makes total sense. Like they want to have a foothold in the New York City metro area, and they don't have anybody. They don't have anybody in the Boston area. They don't have anybody in the Philadelphia area. Rutgers sits right in the center of two of the biggest media markets in the world, let alone the country. So it'd be a great step for them to have a regional powerhouse and potentially Rutgers. Like it really kind of depends so much on how that 24-25 season goes. The future of the apparel deal for Rutgers. And it would help too if the football team started making bowls again. It's never a negative. But I think you said it, like the apparel companies kind of view Rutgers football as like a non-asset right now.
Gotta win.
Unless they're playing in a bunch of big games against Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State, like it's not the best look for an apparel company to have their logo on a uniform of a team that's getting the shit kicked out of them. Like that is not what they're trying to sell. They're trying to sell championships. They're trying to sell, winning culture. They're trying to think about it. They're trying to get you to buy their shit. And so if they're trying to get you to buy stuff from them, they're trying to make it that, the best of the best wear this. So if you're losing by 30 plus 5 times a year, it doesn't really do much for the brand recognition for those companies. So
I want to show this real quick too, because I'm just looking at it now. This is their website for Rutgers apparel. There's fucking 4 things on here.
Oh my god!
And one of them socks. Like, don't get wrong, baseball jersey's sick looking, and for $40, honestly,
they should sell way more apparel with that Rutgers baseball style. It's so sick. When I saw them bust those out this year, it was either this year or last year. I was why is this not a thing? Why is this not more of a thing? These are incredible.
But side note, if you're a student, you can get 30% off. So, I mean, hey, go sign up for that. But, I mean, you can't really buy much Rutgers stuff, so it doesn't matter. I don't get that. That's pretty bad. 6 items. So, you would hope if it's a re-up, it's like tier 1 status or even close to, even if it's tier 2, because I don't think they're tier 2 either right now. But I don't think they reveal what tiers the schools are, but you can kind of get a hint based on what schools get the March Madness uniforms, what schools get the crazy what did they have last year? Oh, the Black History Month.
Yep. Yeah, those are awesome. They have done such a good job with the alternate uniforms for basketball. And I mean, it's just using historical stuff, but Rutgers has so many really awesome old school jerseys. Like that's like something that's pretty underrated about Rutgers athletics is that we've got some awesome throwbacks.
Yeah, the script Knights is beautiful. The Rutgers with the white stripes and almost looks like an Indiana uniform, to be honest, but that's always a nice one. And the blackout uniforms are pretty nice too. I'll give them that. So I mean, stay with Adidas. It sounds like, and then hopefully you get a little bit bump in tier status. They're not going to reveal it, so it doesn't matter. Like maybe we can ask Hobbs next time we talk to him, but I'm okay with this. I think it's a good move. And then if you produce like everyone thinks they're going to produce in 2004. Sky's the limit for how big this deal could be for whether it be Nike or Adidas next go around.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
let's move on. You and Foursome played in the Schiano the Schiano charity golf tournament yesterday. Yeah. You came in second. You lost out to whose team?
Sean O'Hara.
Who else was on his squad? Was it?
I'm not really sure. No. He actually didn't. He wasn't there for the awards. Actually.
Really?
Yeah. So they're like, and winner is Sean O'Hara's group, and I'm looking around. I'm like, I'm gonna yell at him real quick and say like, cheater, fuck you. Well, he beat us by a stroke though, which was kind of impressive. Yeah. So it was a shamble. It wasn't a scramble. Which scramble I was kind of hoping for, but so basically the difference is instead of playing a scramble, all 4 players hit, you play the best shot. All 4 players hit, you play the next best shot. All 4 players hit, blah, blah, blah. This was a shamble. So it was basically everyone hits a drive, you play that best drive, and then you play your own ball. And whatever the lowest score is out of the foursome counts as your team score. So, I played more of my shots than I thought I would. I actually had a pretty good round. I was slightly impressed with myself. Started downpouring on 17, so we were very close to finishing. We just finished out real quick. One of the holes had a... actually, hold on. We got to talk about the group in front of me. Mark Orphy, man. Get that group together. Like, I'm waiting on every tee box, waiting for him. Wasn't him specifically, but he stripes the ball though. I'll give him that. He's a pretty good golfer. Pat Flaherty doesn't hit it far, but fucking good golfer, man. Some of these coaches they can hit the ball pretty straight. So I assume that's what they do most of July when they're off. So it makes sense. Other than that, though, it was a cool event. Great event. Got to talk to Greg for a little bit. Wasn't a tee sponsor technically because it was on the screen, so I didn't get a little like not picket fence. What are those things called?
Little like yard sign thing.
Yeah, a little yard sign. There we go. We'll go with that. But yeah, got to talk to Greg for a few. Got my photo with him, and yeah, that was pretty much it. A lot of good players there. A lot of notable names. Sean O'Hara, Marco Battaglia played. I didn't get to see him. He was on a different course. Pat Hobbs was there. All the coaches were there for the most part. Got to talk to a couple of them, and then got to talk to Greg afterwards too, on the record. And interesting stuff. Talked injuries. So right away, Fitzroy Legister tore his Achilles, so he's out for. I mean, that's a major injury. That's like 12 months minimum, right?
Yep.
Talked about I asked him about Jaquay Jackson. He hyped him up quite a bit. Big addition for them. He also talked about Sean Bauman, who was another big addition for them. Talked about how he attacks the portal, and it has to be a culture fit. It can't just be like, just because this guy is putting up numbers and he wants to come to Rutgers, we got to make sure it's a good fit. So they got him to campus this weekend, and it kind of like fine-tuned their offense a little bit. He's very excited for Gavin Wimsatt, and he mentioned Gavin a lot on his trajectory and how he's doing. Said it's going to take time, definitely. It's not like an easy thing to do, just to go from true freshman, or I shouldn't say true freshman, second-year freshman to start like a stud quarterback. So, but he thinks him and Schrocker are working with each other really well. The offense is going to be much better. Jacob Allen also had a little procedure done. Jeez, I can't talk today. On his knee. He thinks he will return this season, but based on the way he said it, I don't think he will be. So I think it's going to be another year of Jacob Allen probably on the sidelines, which isn't shocking because we kind of told you who the 2 deep was for the most part in our depth chart piece. I want to say 2 weeks ago, a month ago. Jeez, man, time's flying. A little over a month ago, I guess. So yeah, they still want to. It sounds like they still want to add one more piece in the portal in a tackle. He didn't say anything about that, but based on talking to people, it sounds like that's what they're going to do. Talked about the 2024 class, mentioned how they're doing good in areas like North Carolina, who obviously Benjamin Black, Isaiah Crumpler. They can't say on the record the guys' names, but also mentioned Georgia. Well, I mentioned Atlanta specifically, which back to the Parkview kids I was just talking about. So Traylon Maddox and Antonio White. So I'd keep a close eye on those guys. They are taking more visits, so that's going to be a sting if they go elsewhere. But and then the Midwest. You mentioned the Midwest, and it's not the first time they went there. And they're, like you mentioned before, 3 Michigan kids, Wisconsin kid. Like, it's not normal for Rutgers to do this, but it's expanding the state of Rutgers. So
yeah, no, you got to just go where the talent is. The talent that's being receptive, and it's clear that I think with the advent of like the top kids going to these football factories like IMG or whatever, like think of how many top kids from the area ended up going, who would think of Ellis Robinson, who was at Iona Prep, who's now at IMG. Think of who's that Leonard kid from Bosco who ended up going to IMG. Like, these kids are like leaving the area to go to these, athletics powerhouses, like these places that you basically get like professional training for a few years as a high school athlete. And it's just the talent isn't as good as it seems to be a few years ago, even. So you got to go elsewhere.
That's pretty accurate. It seems like, and also, like, no offense to the Big North, but like, I know the Big North kids aren't coming to Rutgers, and everyone's like, oh, well, fuck them. And I'm like, yeah, they're good rated kids, but name the last Big North kid that produced at the college football level at a high rate. I Jabril Peppers, like Minka. That's a long time ago at this point. Like, I know it doesn't seem like it, but there's a lot of recruiting classes where it's just dud after dud after dud. Like, So, I mean, maybe Davis and Igbenos change. I guess that's North Jersey. Yeah, Union. It's North Jersey. Right? No, someone's going to yell at me for that one. Union being in North Jersey.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not from that area, so I
All
would
right.
say from like living where I grew up, I would say it's North Jersey, but I think
Yeah.
some people would say it's Central. I think it's right on that borderline.
Okay. Fair enough. Taiwan Malone hasn't produced really. He's another one. He's going to go to Ohio State too. We'll see what happens there. But there's no Big North kid that's really produced. So it's not like you're missing much by missing these kids. So Audric Estime, maybe. He's been pretty good for Notre
Yeah,
Dame. So I guess you could count him. But other than that, like it's more failures than not. So go elsewhere. Go get these kids from Carolinas, Michigans, Wisconsins, and just use them. See how they do. And then obviously tap into Florida again, and that's where your trenches are being built at this point. So that's that.
yeah. The last thing I had on our rundown here was an update on Naas Cunningham. So this is a kid who when he announced his top five, it was a bit of a surprise that Rutgers was in it. But now it sounds more and more like Rutgers might be nearing the top end of that group. What are you hearing about Naas Cunningham?
So Naas Cunningham, we should have talked about that before, I guess, right? In terms of hoops and just flip flopped, but
Yeah, well, we're just skipping around here.
all right, that's fine. Naas Cunningham sounds like it's Memphis or Rutgers. Sounds like
Wow.
Rutgers is making a pretty significant push there. I'm waiting to hear back from one of my sources real quick, but it sounds really good about Rutgers right now. I know he went to Memphis for a visit back in what was it, February, March, April, one of those. I don't know which one it was, but yeah. So he went back to Memphis for a visit, and he went down there to talk to the staff, kind of see where things stand. And I actually had him as a commit or going to commit when he went down there, but it sounds like that didn't happen. So now Rutgers is making a push, and I wouldn't be shocked if you see him on campus soon. So now, where does he fit with the team? I don't think he fits personally. I'm very adamant about that. Especially if you're getting Dylan, it doesn't fit at all. But if Dylan wants him and he wants a 4-star top 25, 30 kid wants to come to Rutgers, I can't think you could say no. Plus,
Yep.
it's not going to just help the 2024 team. It would help 2025. Yeah, I'm speaking right. The 2025 team when Ace and Dylan are gone. Maybe Nas leaves too, and Nas is like, yeah, I'm like, you said it off pod, but I'm going to reiterate it a little bit. Like maybe Nas leaves and is like, yeah, I'm going to go to NBA. And it's like, I'm content with being picked number 50. And it's like, all right, dude, like you have this potential, but if you stay one more year, you're first rounder if you're good enough. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens there. But Rutgers are making a push there. So not just Bryce Dortch as a 4-star in this class, and you get Nas just to back up a little bit. You get Nas along with Dortch and Lathan, Somerville, and Dylan and Ace. I think without a doubt you're number one, right?
I'd be
If you
shocked if
if
that's
you have
not the one class.
2 and 3 right now, and that's not even definite because they might move up too. And Ace and Dylan, and then Lathan, who's scheduled to move up at 92 right now. Bryce Dortch, who I talked to someone else who said he had a real Bryce Dortch had a great Under Armour camp or UMass. I forget what it was. We've got a great camp somewhere, and someone said he might move up. So maybe Nas drops a little, or maybe he stays where he is. And regardless, I mean, if that's what happens, you're getting the number one class, and then Elliot Cadeau's gone, so that hurts them a little bit. North Carolina. So we'll wait and see. But damn, that would be something.
Yeah, it's a potentially huge development, but it's wild that it would just get like kind of, you know, blocked out by this like duo of total studs in Ace Bailey and potentially Bryce Harper. It's a great time to be a Rutgers basketball fan, that's for sure.
Yeah, you're not kidding. And I know we touched on Emmanuel in the last pod, but he's a hell of a get. I like him a lot.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that.
And that's huge for 2023. No other transfer names because I know everyone's going to be like transfer name, but they're still pursuing the portal. I haven't seen anyone visit yet. I haven't heard of anyone visiting yet, but I expect them to have someone on campus over the next probably month. Staff's out and about though. Staff's over in Colorado Springs watching Dylan participate in Team USA camp. Sounds like Ace got shafted a little because he was doing really well, and then got sick, and
Yeah,
happens. But what are you gonna do?
yeah. And from everything I've heard, Dylan's been dominant in this under 19 junior national team
Yeah,
camp. Like of the 35 guys, I've heard from a couple different sources that he has looked arguably the best of any player at this entire camp. And this includes, guys who were freshmen in college, guys who were high school seniors and high school juniors. So that speaks volume. That this is like, if you just look at the list, like you have the list on the boards and in an article, it is like half of the list is 5-star kids from the last 3 classes. So this is not just, this isn't the 2004 Olympic team. This is a legit group of kids.
Yeah, this is actually extremely impressive for him, because it not only, like I said before, he's probably going to make a jump in the rankings again. This might just put him for number 1 for us. I know he's number 1 for another network, but I think this is going to make him make that jump. He's just been dominant, and I hate comparing guys to NBA players, especially stars, but his game is hardened. Like, there's no other comparison there. He could dish the rock and be a point guard if need be. He could cut to the rim and just finishes with ease. Like, he's just going to be such a good player. And if he ends up at Rutgers, I keep saying Final Four run, and I think it's actually really possible if Ace and Dylan are on the same team. Sprinkle in a couple other 4-stars there, and it's like, oh shit, like, look at that. You might have an all 4/5-star lineup at one point, which I don't know if it's ever happened. I know it's been very close because I've been close to tweeting it, but it's just an impressive team, impressive haul from Pikel and crew if they could pull this off.
Yeah, without a doubt. So I believe that those rosters will be announced. That roster will be announced in the coming day or two. I know that they cut down from 35 to 18, which, as you mentioned, Ace did not make that, but it did sound like Ace was one of the standout performers before he got sick. So it's a little bit of a bummer there. But this does create an interesting conundrum, because we've kind of laid this out before. So if Dylan makes the team, they're in, I think, Lebanon from June 24th until July 2nd.
Thought it was Hungary, but I might be wrong.
It might be Hungary.
Whatever.
So they're in another country, let's just say.
Overseas.
From June 24th until July 2nd. And Peach Jam has been that date that we've all been talking about for a while. Peach Jam is July 3rd through the 9th. So he's literally coming back from another country on the 2nd and going to Atlanta for Peach Jam on the 3rd until the 9th.
If he makes the team, but he should.
If he makes the team, and it sounds like he will, assuming that nothing happens. So that leaves probably 8 to 10 day period where he can take visits, have in-homes, blah, 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 before Peach Jam. So does he visit Rutgers in that time? Does he do in-homes? I know Duke was supposed to have an in-home with him this week, which got canceled because he got invited to the under 19 camp. It creates a lot of questions. Do you have any clarity on any of that?
It screws up everyone's recruitment now. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it doesn't sound like anything like definite. I mean, if he makes the team, he should make the team. I'd be shocked if he didn't. But if he makes the team, I think that's I don't even know I guess you have to participate in Peach Jam, right? Like, you don't have to, but that man's gonna be tired as hell. I don't think he's going to take any other visits, to be honest with you. And I think he's been to Rutgers more than anyone else. I think Duke he hasn't been to since, October for his official visit. I think it was late October. And Indiana also had an official visit around that time. No one else has had an official visit. I don't anticipate Auburn or Kansas getting one unless he all of a sudden doesn't make Team USA maybe. But even then, like, you're running out of time. Like, you got to figure this out pretty quickly. So, I think this is just setting up perfectly for Rutgers. Continuing to hear really good things about Rutgers and Dylan. Nothing has made me even want to contemplate changing my future cast. I'm still pretty confident in it. Talk to other people. They're very confident in it. Sounds like Lifestyle Agency, Sports Agency, which is ran by Omar Cooper, starting to have conversations with Dylan about possibly representing him down the line. And then if that happens, it's like, oh shit. Like, Omar Cooper is connected. He's the agent for Marlon Williamson, who's the assistant coach at Rutgers. Omar Coopers represents Ace Bailey, who's top 5-star commit at Rutgers, and it's just all piecing together slowly. Brandon Knight's really close with Omar Cooper because his sister is his goddaughter, and it's like, oh, here we go. But this is it's a fun time to be a Rutgers basketball fan specifically. But Rutgers football is on the rise too with their recruiting class. Other programs are starting to step up too. Wrestling looks pretty promising. Women's basketball added some nice pieces this offseason, so great time to be a Rutgers fan in general.
Yeah, without a doubt. Super excited about the upcoming spring or fall and spring sports. But it's weird. We're in this no man's land right now between training camp and I guess just now in training camp. So
welcome to baseball season.
Baseball season. I mean, I used to love baseball so much, but it's just so hard to just keep up with now.
It's fun when your coach gets ejected every game.
That's true. Yeah, that makes things interesting at least.
Yeah, but that's funny.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in once again. I'm sure you guys are almost tired of hearing it from us right now.
Yeah, but I got one quick thing real quick before we sign off. Contract details. I released it on our message board. I'm going to post this in a second too. Marlon Williamson got $255,000 for 1 year at Rutgers. His contract expires June 2024. That's second highest on the staff currently, as TJ Thompson makes $250,000. His expires June 30th. Therefore, contract bump coming for TJ very soon, I would assume, because it's June 13th already. So June 30th, I'm sure he's not going anywhere. I wouldn't even worry. I think he probably gets bumped to that 300 range. And then I would actually probably bump Brandon Knight again too, to probably he's making 625 right now. His doesn't expire till March 2024, but dude, the guy just landed Ace Bailey. He's pushing for to land Dylan Harper. If he lands him, I'd give him, personally, I would give him a lot of money, but I'm not going to say the number I would give him. It's way more than what he's making, but you got to bump him up to at least 7, right? 700. He's at 625 right now.
You think, right?
At the very least. I mean, you do got some money to play around with because Tom Barrett's gone. So you can Carl Hobbs is gone, kind of a little bit fuck around money here and there. Maybe not as much as I'm really realistically saying, but they definitely have some money there. But I would bump up him. I'd bump up TJ's definitely getting a bump. And then Steve Hayne also expires in June 2023. So I don't think he's going anywhere either because Pike seems to trust him quite a bit. So I'd expect contract extensions for those two relatively soon.
Yeah, so that's
all I got though.
There's a lot of contract stuff that'll be coming at the end of this month, so definitely stay tuned for that information between the re-signing the coaches and also the potential, or what we assume will be a re-upping on a short-term deal with Adidas. But anyway, guys, we've gone long here. We appreciate you listening. This has been another edition. Oh, wait. So one more thing. We hit 3,000 subs on the YouTube channel.
Let's go. That's time.
The next episode, we will have the outline of the giveaway. So we'll have the instructions at the end of the podcast for if you want to be entered in, how you can enter in, and what will be given away. Richie's alluded to some jerseys, some possible subs. We won't say exactly what it's going to be, but it'll be a prize that's worth putting your name into. We'll just say that. But for me and Richie, this has been another edition of the Knight Report podcast. Signing off.